Welcome back, everybody. It's Monday. Dominic Salee. We're back together again.
It's just incredible.
In this lovely studio that at some point we both will get to call home.
This is true. We're recording on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
Big day.
Big day.
Big
how
fight,
are you doing, though?
I'm well. You know, last night's fights, quite incredible. But we'll get into that later. But you're back here. How was your weekend at home with the family?
It was good. Mama had a good birthday. Shout out to her.
Of course.
But
Hope you're listening.
Yeah, I got to have dinner with my dad today as well. Or lunch, I should say, dinner, same thing, whatever.
Yeah.
So it was good to see everybody. But I'm glad to be back with you here to talk about these fights last night. Because even though I was home celebrating a birthday, I said, Mom, I don't care what you're doing Saturday night.
I know what I'm doing.
I know what I'm doing. And she understands.
Yeah, it's a business.
It's a business.
Yeah.
But with that being said, enough about us. I think it's time to get into the news.
The news.
Only one fight announcement.
Only one.
And elephant in the room here.
A whole segment of news that we skipped Friday.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say that it was because for time's sake, I wanted to put more news on Monday's episode and split it up. But really it's because I just forgot.
Yeah.
And we just skipped on into the predictions. But
so
anyways.
We're being transparent.
So some of this news is from most of it should have been on Friday's episode, but that's okay because now we just have a fuller news segment.
Exactly.
Here. But the one fight announcement that happened over the course of the weekend.
Legend fight.
A
lot of legend fights lately.
I like it. Two guys that are likely at the very end here. The fight is Donald Cerrone versus Diego Sanchez happening May 8th. It's our first fight announcement for May. Diego has made it clear that this will be his last fight. Donald has not necessarily said the same, but Dana
knows it's his way out. And
Dana has kind of alluded to the fact that he's about to have that the conversation that he calls it with these guys that he's had with like Chuck Liddell and BJ Penn, guys like that. So yeah, I'm actually very excited for this one. I get it. These are two guys that are past their prime. They're not quite what they were at their heights. You know, both these guys have fought for belts.
Mm-hmm.
People forget Diego Sanchez fought BJ Penn back in the day. Got beat up, but he's the original Ultimate Fighter winner. He deserves some respect.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that he's a bit out there and he's kind of made some interesting career choices
Always
in
been
the last
a character,
couple years.
Yeah.
He's I have a lot of respect for Diego for his impact in the UFC. Cowboy Cerrone, I mean,
the all-time leader in wins, all-time leader in finishes.
And I hate that he's got this losing streak attached to him. I know he went to a draw with Nico Price, but that was a fight where he was probably going to lose if not for the fact that Nico had a point taken away. However, Cowboys fought for the belt. I believe, was it twice? I know he fought against
Definitely
RDA.
Once. He may have.
Did he fight Benson Henderson?
Against Benson or Pettis, one of the two.
I think he's only fought once, against RDA. I think Nate Diaz fought Benson Henderson for the belt at one point, and they were both on like Fox cards, so I kind of forget. But both these guys have fought for belts, and I know Cowboys got this losing streak, but
still fighting killers.
And this might be kind of revealing a little bit more about what I think of this fight prediction-wise, but I think Cowboys still has quite a bit more left than someone like Diego Sanchez has. Because anybody remember just 2 years ago when Cowboy had the dad Cerrone run?
Literally about to fight for a title.
If he beat Tony Ferguson, he was fighting for a belt.
He was ranked 5th in the world.
People forget that. I mean, he was looking fantastic. His fight against Ali Quina.
Yeah.
Mike Perry.
He stopped Alexander Hernandez on his tear.
That was a great run for him. So I think he still has a lot left. I just think he's been going up against really tough competition. And not that he shouldn't be, because, he was ranked 5th. But I just think that it's the way it goes sometimes. But I think it's a good matchup here. If it's the last fight for both of them, I hope they go out with a bang. I think they will.
This will be, I'd imagine anyway.
Should be fun. Do you have any other thoughts on this?
It's you almost wish they give them the main event slot just because it's them two. Yeah. I don't think that's the case.
No, I don't think
but
so.
That would be fun. But either way, that's a great fight. Definitely a Legends fight. I'm looking forward to it. Still a little ways away, but I had to bring that up, of course. So.
Yeah, but that's the end of the fight announcements. As for the rest, we got quite a bit to go over here.
Or everything that we missed Friday.
Yeah, what we missed. We're going to start with UFC veteran James Vick. He's kind of became a bit of a meme over the last few years.
It's unfortunate.
I think a lot of it stems from that Justin
At the beginning
fight.
of it was like a karma thing, but now
Let's start with James Vick. At one point, looked like one of the most promising prospects in that lightweight division. He's a very tall, lanky guy.
Great striker.
And then something started happening.
Yeah.
The moment he got touched in the face,
he talked way too much shit about Justin Gaethje.
The Justin Gaethje fight, I think, is where
most the
him,
hatred and
I mean, he
bitterness.
literally. I remember he was the favorite. James Vick was the favorite in that fight. Gaethje was.
This was coming off of Gaethje's back-to-back losses.
Gaethje was, I believe, a late replacement too. And in their press conference, James Vick said, like, "Congrats on getting a spot in the main event. After I'm done with you, you'll be back fighting on the prelims.
You're the Homer Simpson of MMA, all this and that."
And James Vick...
You want to talk about times when karma showed in MMA? Yeah. This is one of the top 5.
It was at this moment he knew he fucked up.
Yeah.
And he
got one punch KO'd.
3 straight in the UFC. Yeah. I believe another time he got upkicked by Nico Price.
What
was the other one?
Didn't Hooker beat him? I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure it was Dan Hooker. Yeah. So
he went on a 4-fight losing streak starting with the Gaethje fight. So from the moment he started talking the trash to Gaethje, he lost 4 straight fights, 3 of which were via KO, and then got released by the UFC.
Yeah.
And just fought at MMA or
something like that.
Something, a free fight card on YouTube last week, and got KO'd again, making that 5 straight losses, 4 of them via KO, and the next day announced his retirement from professional mixed martial arts. So it's bittersweet, you know. I don't want to talk bad about him.
At one point, like, when Gaethje knocked him out, I definitely was like...
It was like, you deserve that.
It felt like karma, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It was like, all right, you got shut up. But now, at this point, it's like, it feels like I'm kicking a guy when he's down.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, when I keep seeing the people kind of really just stabbing him, like, digging that knife in a little deeper, it's like, all right, guys, like, we had our fun, but let's just...
It's still a guy's life.
I mean, he just retired because of this, and it's such a shame because he had such a promising career. That guy, I remember, you know, they were some tweets made about this after his fight he just had, where they were showing articles from when he, you know, before he had lost even his first fight, and they were saying that he might be the guy to beat someone like Conor McGregor and stuff like that, and. You know, people really had high hopes for him in that division, and I could see why. Like, at moments he looked incredible, but unfortunately, you know, sometimes the body just it doesn't, you know, lose at the same pace.
And everybody's chin has to go.
And you know, he's not an old guy, but unfortunately for him, it's just the chin just kind of left before
he was getting hit.
He was still in like a physical prime, but when you can't take a punch and you're a striker,
you can't train your jaw. You know?
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him. So I feel for him, James. You know, appreciate the years you put into the sport and to the UFC, the memories.
All the best in retirement.
All the best in retirement. Keep your head high. I think there's still a chance that he can. I'd like to see him maybe, you know, in some capacity, whether he has like a podcast or starts doing different interview appearances. I'd like to see him kind of work his way back into the good graces of the fan base, because
coaching, training,
MMA is a very fickle fan base, and but I think they also are very forgiving at the same time.
That's true.
I think there's still hope for him to kind of do that if he wants to. Moving on, we're gonna go with the PFL.
Of course.
PFL.
Baby.
They're back.
They're back.
And they have announced a few different things, right? So they announced when they're kind of coming back and what divisions are going to be holding. Do they just call them tournaments? Grand Prix?
Grand Prix, tournaments.
Yeah, however you want to word it.
Yeah.
So we got the men's featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, and light heavyweight that all got announced for 2021. Might be more to come. Maybe more divisions will get announced, but... they're debuting Friday, April 23rd, 6 p.m. on ESPN+.
Yes.
UFC is not the only dog in MMA on this app anymore.
And then they're rerunning it at 9 on ESPN2.
Yeah, so shout out to the PFL. They had a really bad 2020 just because they couldn't really even...
But they got big in 2019. They had a good year.
They did, and they've made some good moves. They've signed some really good guys, and I think that they're set to have a good bounce back here in 2021. Just a few of the fighters that were announced. I could talk about a lot of these guys that maybe most of you wouldn't have heard of, but here's some of the UFC
bigger
veterans.
names,
Light heavyweight Tom Lawler and Cesar Ferreira. Welterweight Rory McDonald. Lightweight Anthony Pettis, their biggest signing.
That's obviously most excited for that.
Olivier Aubin-Mercier, that's a guy who...
Trained with GSP.
Dark horse for that division. And then featherweight Lance Palmer. I think there's a good chance that these guys... that this year is just going to be a really big year for them. And if they decide to go with women's lightweight for Kayla...
We know Kayla will be there. Interested to see what they do with Clarissa Shields. I don't know if she's going to debut this year.
Yep.
But she is signed with the PFL.
I forgot about that.
So that'll be fun. But as a fight fan, it's just good to see the PFL back. We're about to be in full swing. We've got big things we're going to talk about with one. UFC is obviously full go. Bellator's returning, I believe, in April as well. No specifics. They have a big announcement, actually, this Tuesday.
They've been teasing it.
I think it's going to be Rumble Johnson's debut fight.
They'll probably announce a full card.
Or like a Grand Prix or something. But, so they're all getting in a full swing. 2021, first quarter off to a hot start, but the PFL is coming back.
And selfishly... as fight fans, it's hard sometimes to be as big of fans of the sport as we are. Because, we've been, now that we have this platform, we've been wanting to branch out and check out more Bellator,
learn,
UFC, Ryzen, PFL. But it's hard when, like for Bellator, you got to pay how much a month for DAZN?
Yeah.
It can add up if you're trying to watch all of these different promotions every month. And it's a lot of time. However, it helps. PFL on ESPN Plus. We already got that for the UFC. So if you guys are UFC fans, you have ESPN Plus, check out the PFL when it comes back. I think you might be pleasantly surprised that they
do have good fighters.
There's a lot of good MMA out there that's
and
not
there's going to be
UFC.
Like they are going to have a lot of older veterans, but they are going to have their own young talent too. So
there's a lot of guys I mentioned.
They have Usman Nurmagomedov, I think, is either Bellator or PFL as well. There's so many Nurmagomedovs out there these days.
Yeah.
But there are young talent that they still go and scout out. So it'll be fun. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, ONE FC will move on to...
This is another... huge.
Actually, if there was a promotion that had a worse 2020 than PFL, it was probably ONE FC. And they were pretty mum. They didn't give it... There wasn't a lot, that they were saying themselves. They were just talking about how they could, what a big year they had planned for 2021, always looking ahead. However, it appears that a lot of whispers have been coming out of some of their people there that they were in bad financial times. There was an article that came out a couple weeks ago.
I think it was on Bloody Elbow.
Yeah, it was 2019. They had like upwards of 90-some million in losses. Not great, but a big announcement here.
This is huge.
I'm very excited about this.
This was awesome to see this.
They have announced that they will be debuting ONE on TNT. Multiple
Network.
events to be held in April. First one.
Oh, baby.
Headlined by a familiar face.
The Mouse. The Mighty Mouse.
The Mouse. Demetrius Johnson. No Mickey here, folks.
For the belt.
For the belt. It's crazy. He won he had some form of like a Grand Prix for their flyweight division.
Yeah. And they're finally getting to
is finally him
undisputed.
So yeah, people might not realize it, but he's not even the current flyweight champion.
Yeah, he's essentially looked at as like an interim.
So I'm excited to see how he holds up against what's considered the best flyweight that ONE FC has as he vies for the belt.
And that's perfect for ONE because even casual viewers at least have heard of Mighty Mouse. So for them to not only get to TNT Network, but you're going to start it with Demetrius, that's big for them. And I believe it's like 3 or 4 events in like 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And they're out in Asia. That's where they're like located. But they're doing it on America time for this set, obviously, for TNT. So looking forward to watching that because ONE and Ryzen are the two that, for us in the United States, is hardest to watch because they're like 12 hours ahead of us or whatever it is. So it's like they're fighting when it's 4 a.m. here and all that stuff. So We really get lucky a lot in the States, but I digress. I'm looking forward to this. ONE FC on TNT Network. Everybody gets TNT.
If anybody's a pro wrestling fan or grew up a pro wrestling fan like me and Dom did, this reminds me so much of, WWE had when they first debuted Monday Night Raw, they were the only show in town, right? They were on USA Network at the time. Their product got a little stale. In comes WCW, who gets a deal on TNT.
Yep.
And then they go head-to-head Monday Night Wars, which was probably the best time to be a pro wrestling fan, that 1997 to 2002 time frame.
So basically, by the end of 2021, UFC versus ONE Championship event booking.
I'm not saying that, but I am saying that it feels similar for ONE to come on here. It's like, okay, now you got Bellator on CBS
Sports Network.
Yeah, and I just think that's really cool that these networks are really embracing MMA, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously the UFC is a big catalyst for that. They're kind of the biggest show around, so that way it's like a big test for this sport on TV. But it's good to see.
So many people are going to be introduced.
I'm glad that it doesn't appear yet, and, it's still a chance it could, but I am glad, as big of fans of the UFC as we are, and as good much as we want to see it succeed, and it is what we primarily watch, I don't want it to turn into something like the NFL or the NBA. I don't want it to
like
be
a monopoly
the
almost.
only place to really watch.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, other TNT, CBS, they're kind of making sure that's not the case, and I'm just happy for that.
Exactly.
I like to see a little diversity, Now, our kind of last news story here is going to be all about what the fuck's going on with the lightweight division.
I don't know.
So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Tony?
I think, yes. Well, Tony tweeted again today.
Oh, okay.
But let's start with this one that we wanted to talk about Friday. So Tony Ferguson called out Nate Diaz. First off, yes, please. And he said 155 or 170, he don't care. Second, yes, please. It's crazy that fight actually has never happened. Chael P was even talking about that, like, wow, how have we let this happen as fight fans? This fight has never occurred. So I'm down for this, but I'm just down for the lightweight division to get rolling in some way, shape, or form.
That's a good way to put it.
So, first, I guess, thoughts on Tony and Nate Diaz.
I am all for it. I think that these are two guys in similar situations in their career. I think Tony... I always feel for Tony Ferguson. I know he's had a 2-fight losing streak, but he was one of the best in the world at one time. People still, not as much as they did at one point, but they always are going to talk about how that him and Khabib fight never happened.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same vein, I still think Tony had the potential to really be like a big star. Like, I don't know if he never quite got that because he never quite headlined enough. He had that fight with Kevin Lee, that headline for an interim belt. Besides that, he never really did it. He was a co-main against Anthony Pettis on the Conor Khabib card. And then, he did headline against Justin Gaethje. That was the UFC's welcome back. So he's kind of flirted with being like a big star. But I think a fight with Diaz could really sell well. And I think it'd be nice to see Tony get a nice, real big payday. As
in the fight itself.
I mean,
that's blood.
If you want to talk about that, as Tony's hitting the twilight of his career, take out your preconceived notions because of the Charlie Olives fight or the Justin Gaethje fight. Tony Ferguson is still damn good.
Oh yeah.
People just don't. Those two guys are
top 3 in the world,
potentially the next champions. Yeah. So, just because Tony might not be at that level, doesn't mean that he's fallen off.
He still beats a lot of ranked lightweights.
And it's not an easy fight, Nate Diaz, and I hate to even act like he is. He's not. Nate Diaz is a tough matchup for anybody. But Nate Diaz is in a similar situation. His last fight was Jorge Masvidal for the BMF belt. Lost that fight pretty easily. Before that, he beat Anthony Pettis. But then you go before that, and he had the Conor fight. So he's been very inactive, over these few years. But I just think that they're in similar situations. It's less about getting to a belt at this point. It's more about legacy. And that's what this fight is. It's a legacy fight.
Yeah, that's a huge fight. You talk about fan favorite. Fans
and their styles mix well, I think.
That's a violent fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, I want to talk about Tony from today.
Okay.
He tweeted talking shit about Justin and Charlie Olives in the same tweet.
I didn't see this.
And said that neither one of you finished me, champ shit only, blah, 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 blah. It's him hitting the pad. Typical Tony tweet. Justin quote tweeted it and said, like, something to the extent of, I did in fact finish you might want to check the tapes, buddy. So then it's like, okay, I don't need a Gaethje versus Ferguson rematch. Tony, what are you doing? You did get finished by Gaethje, first off. Technically, you didn't get finished by Charles, but, it wasn't very close.
I don't think that's... Yeah,
I think it's just Tony being Tony.
I think...
Stirring the pot.
Just talking shit.
So then the next part, this might be the most interesting piece. Michael Chandler almost fought this coming Saturday at UFC 258.
Against?
Charles Oliveira. You heard that right.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Well, just for shits and gigs?
Co-main event, 2 weeks notice. Two of the best fighters in the world. Dana, we love you on this podcast.
Dana, I love you.
You need to quit offering Charles Oliveira 2 week notice fights.
It's pissing me off.
Please
if
stop.
I hear one more time that Charles Oliveira turned down a fight, that's always the headline.
Yeah.
Charles Oliveira turns down fight.
Read the fine print.
Couldn't
make the weight
on 2 weeks notice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Charles Oliveira's a big ass dude. He can't just cut weight like that.
Well, it was funny, like Dan Hooker saying, like, Charlie.
I've seen broomsticks thicker than that man.
He's like, come on, Dan. You really think he couldn't make the weight? I bet broomsticks bigger than that man.
We digress.
Anyways,
damn it! Stop.
It's okay. Okay, there's more to this here because it's looking like we're about to get Poirier McGregor 3.
It looks like Chandler's about to fight for a belt against
It looks like
somebody.
Chandler's about to fight for a belt against
Gaethje or Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, and it looks like Dustin Poirier doesn't really mind.
Dustin seems fine at letting the division play out, and why he chases the bag and fights Conor again.
Which honestly, respect.
The more I sit on it, if Dustin himself is okay with not fighting for the belt, then me as a Dustin fan can be okay.
And I have the same sentiment. It's like, okay, he obviously it should be him and Charles Oliveira.
Yes, that is the fight. Yeah,
but if he wants to go fight Conor a third time, I get it. That's a huge fight. You saw Conor's Instagram post. He really seems to have learned a lot from that fight. And I think you could be seeing a new type of... He even admitted the whole thing about Manny. He was setting up for a Manny Pacquiao fight, which really makes me wonder, okay, so that whole season talk was just kind of bullshit. Unless you include the Manny... I don't count. It's different sports, all right?
Conor's interesting.
Yeah, he's just an interesting guy, right? But I not talking shit. Go make your money.
Yeah.
But...
so...
Here's what's going to happen.
Okay.
We're going to get McGregor versus Poirier 3.
In the summer.
I would say in the summer.
June, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe May.
And I think we're going to get Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira for the belt.
Okay, so that was going to be my question. So let me just throw this question anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, I'm just going to reword my question. What do you do with Gaethje then?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or do you do... Now, you probably don't do this. I was going to say, do you do Gaethje, Chandler, winner fights Oliveira for the belt?
But then that just delays it. I feel like the odd man out needs to fight RDA. And that seems like a bit of a step down for Gaethje because he just lost a title fight. Now you have him fight number 6, but...
RDA
is former champ and a guy that's surging right now.
Yeah.
What I could also totally see the UFC... At first I thought they really bought into Charles for a title, but now they seem to be kind of backtracking on it.
I really want Gaethje and Chandler for some reason.
So if they do
Gaethje... But I need Charles to fight for the belt.
If they do Gaethje Chandler for the belt, then you do Charles RDA. And that's still a great fight.
I don't know but does Charles even take that fight? I bet Charles sits if he doesn't get a title fight, he might sit.
He might.
I don't know.
You've seen mixed results for guys when that happens, right? You see someone like Colby Covington sit, and it doesn't really work out for him. You see Stipe sit, it does work out for him.
Yeah.
It kind of depends on what other fights fall through. If they do Gaethje versus Chandler, and one of those guys can't make it to the dance, all of a sudden Charles gets the call and he's stepping in.
I mean, I guess Chandler Oliveira makes more sense for a belt than Chandler Gaethje because Gaethje's coming off a loss. Even though it was for the belt against Khabib, so it's like...
I mean, but I mean, you kind of...
But he got finished, it was pretty decisive.
This isn't... No, I'm just saying this to be devil's advocate. You had a different sentiment when it was Paulo Costa who had lost against Adesanya for the belt, getting a title fight against Robert Whittaker.
Oh, like if him and Robert are for an interim belt?
You kind of felt differently. And I know that Paulo, I know there's a lot of different factors, but...
That's true.
I'm just saying that, like, I think Gaethje needs to get a win back.
Yeah, I mean, I think he needs to win one. All he needs is one. He doesn't need any more than one, no matter who it is. So, yeah, I mean, Chandler Oliveira in May for the belt?
I'm fine.
Or
it
in
might
April?
be sooner than
Might
that.
be April.
It might be April. I think it's a good fight.
You know, I tell you what, though, any of those three, sign me up. Gaethje Chandler, Gaethje Oliveira, Chandler Oliveira.
Isn't it crazy that it seems like the only one who's for certain going to be in a title fight is Michael Chandler, and he's fought once in the UFC?
And I'm telling you, man, it's because not only did he win the debut, he fucking looked so perfect.
And what's going to be disappointing is if after Dustin and Conor fight a third time, there's a chance Dustin might never fight
Here's
again.
my problem. This is my issue. This is my issue if Dustin actually does go fight Conor. First off, if they make that fight for a belt, I'm rioting.
Mm-hmm.
Only because of the Conor part. Anyway, what if I just have to pose the question before this is the last thing, then we'll get into the recap. What if Dustin loses in the third fight with Conor? Then he can't fight for a belt.
And then Conor's fighting for a belt.
Yeah.
Dustin probably retires. I think there's a good chance Dustin Poirier is not fighting in 2022.
Really?
I think this is the last year for him. You could tell just the post-fight comments. It seems like the fact that he's going to chase the third fight rather than fighting for a belt.
So an ideal 2021 for Dustin is he gets the trilogy with Conor, beats Conor, fights for the belt, ends the year as the champ. Boom.
Then retires. That's.
And then honestly, if that's the case, we have to look back at Dustin's career. And I'm dead serious. You look at his resume.
Top 10.
He's one of the best fighters ever in the UFC.
Ever. Especially if he beats Conor the second time.
And he might be the second best lightweight.
I mean, really, titles are a big thing for me. Like, you know, that's really...
Preferably Dustin wins the belt and defends once. But just to get to the belt.
The fact that he won the interim belt and then lost to Khabib. And then if he came back again and got...
His resume is... quite incredible. Yeah. Anyone who, like, obviously you probably understand that Dustin's good, but if you actually look at his resume, it's insane.
Which is why it's so funny to me that everybody's so, you know, I know I picked Conor in that fight.
Conor's the betting favorite in the trilogy, by the way. Anyway.
But I'm just saying, I think it speaks the fact that so many people still were like, Conor lost to a bum? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not true.
So I'm gonna pose a question to our listeners here right before we get into the recap. Let us know with a voice message or in the comments on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, preferably a voice message so we can get your beautiful voice on the podcast.
Of course.
What do you think? What should happen with the lightweight division?
Who should be fighting for the belt?
Yeah.
Who should be, should Conor versus Dustin 3 be immediately ran back?
Yeah.
What happens with Justin Gaethje? Or if you say Gaethje versus Chandler, where's that leave Oliveira? Does he fight RDA? Does he fight Paul Felder? Does he fight...
Yeah. Does he sit? I don't know.
Yeah, so
let us know. You got 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Plenty of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll feature you. So
yep.
I'm really curious. So thank you.
But until then, that's the end of the news.
The news. It's time to recap fights.
Hashtag UFC Vegas 18.
By the end of the year, we're going to be like UFC Vegas 40.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It was a good night of fights.
It was.
And it started on a bit of a downer. As is the case sometimes, no matter how close to the card we preview,
we can do it Friday morning and
still be losing a fight every now and then.
This dead ass got canceled like 6 hours before the fight.
Cody Stamann versus Askar. Askar was taken off the card. Askar was not medically cleared.
Poor Cody Stamann.
Cody Stamann, that was his
3 different opponents. Yeah.
But it looks like they might run it back with Merab. That was the original opponent, and I think that would be a good fight. So. Hopefully they run that back. But because of that, our main card got shaken up. We actually had 2 fights added to the main... Well,
yeah, they kept it as 6 fights.
So
I
one of the fight we previewed for the prelims, Clay Guida, Michael Johnson, got
bumped way up.
Way up. And then Danilo Marquise. I think it's Marquise.
Might be.
And Mike Rodriguez ended up opening the card here. So I'm going to run through the results, and then we'll just go fight by fight.
Let's do it.
So we opened light heavyweight, Danilo Marquez.
You pick.
He got a technical submission with the rear naked choke. 4 minutes 52 seconds in the second round.
Put to sleep.
Over Mike Rodriguez. Then lightweight. The fight.
This was the fight.
Support Overtime Heroics. Support Dominic Salee. Check us out on Twitter. We be retweeting those articles all the time. But this is the fight that Dom broke down.
Yeah.
And he got correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Benil Dariush getting a split decision win, which we'll talk about.
Yeah,
over Diego Ferreira. 29-28 on 2 for Benil and 29-28 for Diego on 1. Flyweight. Alexandre Pantoja stops.
Welcome to the UFC.
Well, I shouldn't say stops, but he defeats Manel Cape, welcomes him to the UFC, and swiftly beats him.
Fun fight.
Unanimous decision. 29-28 on 2 judges' scorecards, 30-27 on the third. Lightweight, legend fight. Clay Guida gets the unanimous decision win over Michael Johnson.
Great fight.
30-27 on all
Fun
3
fight.
scorecards. Very fun. Co-main event.
Holy shit.
Corey Sandhagen.
Holy shit.
Future champ?
Yes.
He knocked out Frankie Edgar with a flying knee 28 seconds into the first round.
We'll get into it.
In our main event, if he dies,
He dies.
he dies.
Drago.
Alexander Volkov gets a TKO. It was a KO.
It was,
but
yeah.
Credit as a TKO.
It was kind of an awkward. It was weird.
Alistair Overeem, one last ride, one last crash. 2 minutes 6 seconds of the second round. But before we get into those,
Caught me off guard with that.
We start with Danilo Marquez, and Mike Rodriguez. Yeah, Dominic. You guys couldn't see.
Couple takeaways.
Yeah.
Undercard takeaways.
Yes. Go ahead.
It's like a. I'm not going to call it a new segment,
Well,
but dare I say, this
I
is my new
I
segment.
missed the prelims, so truth be told, I was out to eat with my mom. So.
Yeah, every now and again, there's something that catches our eye on the prelims, and we'll give them a shout out. I got a couple shout outs here. Prelim shout outs with Dom and Noah.
All right,
Here
let's
we go.
hear it.
So, number 1, O'Day Osborne, 26-second KO in the first round over Jerome Rivera. Coming off of a torn, or no, that was Devontae Smith. I apologize. We're going to talk about him.
Yeah.
O'Day Osborne, a school teacher when he's not fighting, going back to class on Monday morning, told his students in the post-fight presser, do your damn homework. If he's my teacher, I'm doing my damn homework as soon as he says it.
Too.
Look out for O'Day Osborne, born in Jamaica. I think he's like 10-3, 9 finishes. Very good. Again, 26-second KO in the first round. Next takeaway, Laura Fritzen Procopio defeated Molly Meatball McCann. I apologize. It was a unanimous decision. Only 25 years old. 8-1 or 9-1 now. Dominant grappling. Very good jiu-jitsu transitions. Be on the lookout for her.
And Molly McCann, a legend of English women's MMA.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think Procopio already deserves a top 15 after this performance.
Ooh, nice.
Couple wins in the UFC already, but this was very convincing over a very tough opponent.
agree. Flyweight,
Yes.
still pretty new division.
And at 25 years old, we love prospects.
Of course.
So here's another one. Be on the lookout for her, Laura Procopio. Last but not least, on the undercard shout-outs, Devontae Smith, OH,
IO.
came in, TKO in the second round, doctor stoppage, and his eye about fell out of his face. It was pretty gross. Against Justin James. Devontae Smith, coming off of a torn Achilles over a year out, comes in and looks dominant from start to finish. Look out for Devontae Smith at lightweight, by the way.
Dude, those torn Achilles...
Serious stuff.
They might be worse than a torn ACL at this point, because that's the injury that's affected a lot of NBA players. Like I believe Kevin Durant.
Yep.
I think even Klay Thompson.
Yeah, Kobe.
Kobe. A few other
Devontae
guys.
said Kobe is his inspiration for his recovery.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, that's a very devastating injury, so it was nice to see him come in here and get a big win.
Yeah, and almost all of his wins are via finish. Only one loss on his record. Look out for Devontae Smith at the lightweight division. A lot of people forgot about him. He's only 27. He'll be back soon, too. So those are the undercard shout-outs with Noah and Dom.
Now the main card.
Yes.
Danilo Marquez
You pick.
versus Mike Rodriguez. Go ahead and break down the action here, Dom.
It was all Danilo. So all of round one really was clinch control and ground control. Mike Rodriguez had no answers. It was disappointing. Mike Rodriguez is a guy that came off of that controversial loss to Ed Herman. I almost said Sherman. That's the singer, isn't it?
We've now seen Mike Rodriguez 3 times since we started this podcast.
Yeah. Might be one of the most featured our fighters on here. So it was all Danilo. Joe Lozon, I actually wanted to point out, is in Mike Rodriguez's corner. So just a fun fact there. But it didn't work because Danilo put Mike to sleep with a rear naked choke. 4 minutes, 52 seconds into round 2. Again, it was all Danilo here from start to finish, all on the ground. Mike's known as a striker, and it showed here. He really had no answers. It wasn't like a pure just, I don't want to say domination, but it was from start to finish just Marquez did whatever he wanted. The ground and pound wasn't very prominent. It was just more transitioning and whatnot. But at the end of the day, he got a stoppage, and that's all you can ask for. So he stopped Rodriguez. Not too many huge takeaways, but he looked good. I'll give it to him.
Yeah. Shout out to Marquez.
You pick.
Mike Rodriguez is no slouch, man. I mean, we've seen him in our very first fight night we previewed. He knocked out Marcin Prokhnio.
Yeah.
Then that Ed Herman fight, he was dominating that fight.
That sucks for
him. That was a really tough L there just because he...
They
said he threw an illegal knee, right?
Yeah, in the nuts. But it was clearly to the body. And Herman literally shelled up like it was over.
And Herman was like done.
Yeah.
And then Herman comes back and is able to get the stoppage.
He was like a Kimura, too.
Yeah, so disappointing there. And then he has this loss where he kind of just got completely outclassed.
Yeah, this one was a bad performance.
But I think that speaks more to Danilo's capabilities and how, wish we could have got a full breakdown of this guy.
I had never seen Danilo, I don't think, before yesterday. So
I am definitely going to be on the lookout for him now, and I still have hope for Mike Rodriguez to bounce back here. I just think he was completely out of his league here.
Yeah.
Moving on, and I'm going to let you start here again because this is your fight.
This was the one.
Beneil Dariush getting that split decision over Diego Ferreira.
It wasn't a split.
But Beneil moves into the top 10.
Yeah.
Just 31 years old. We are the Beneil Dariush fan club.
We are stans. Yes.
There's not many people we stan. Beneil Dariush, Charles Oliveira, Alan Joban.
Anybody from Ohio.
That's it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Welcome to the fan club. Yeah, so this was the official Fight of the Night award, and I'm going to go ahead and give Fight of the Night as well.
Okay.
Very close competition that Noah's going to mention later, but this was Fight of the Night for me. As expected, honestly. I will say it played out for the most part how I broke it down, but at the same time, Beneil was actually going for a lot of takedowns. Diego did pretty well for the most part in stopping them. Dariush hurt Diego very badly with a knee in the first round, and then from there just kind of controlled the grappling transitions. Diego did stick out that knee, or grind it out and finish the round, I should say. I was trying to think of a good way to word that. But nevertheless, I had it 1-0 for Dariush. More ground control from Beneil in round 2. A lot of groundwork in round 2, by far the most in the whole fight. And this was where I got thrown off because I knew coming in, and in my preview I even mentioned, Beneil actually did have more submission victories than Diego, and he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, just like Diego. But on the feet, I just felt like Dariush would be able to capitalize way more. But he wanted to wrestle and grapple a lot last night, so all the power to him. Really showed off his well-roundedness. Diego looked very good on the feet, too. I'm going to give him credit there. There's a really bad cup check, so I did mark a cup check down on the notepad. Beneil finished with 5 takedowns.
Yeah, very
that was the most takedowns in his MMA career, or in his UFC career, I should say, which is like 19 fights now or something crazy. But yeah, it was a split. At the worst, you give Diego 1 round, and it's a unanimous 29-28. However, one of the judges saw it for Diego. I'm not going to hate on it. And listen, Diego has 3 losses. 2 of them to Dariush and 1 to Dustin Poirier. That's it.
Yeah.
So Diego is going to be back. The only issue here, Diego's like 36, 37 years old.
Doesn't have a ton of time left.
Yes, so he can make a run, but like Noah said, not too much time. For Dariush, only 31 years old. Just now into that physical prime. His second win over Diego. He's finally going to crack top 10 next. This was what you wanted for a Beneil Dariush fight, and especially as a fan.
And I'll tell you what hurts here for Ferreira. Just the fact that he had that big win over Anthony Pettis and then proceeded to not fight again for a whole year.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe...
This is not me judging him. There's a lot of outside factors. COVID,
well, Yeah.
It affects everybody different, affects the way people train, all that. So I get it. It's just, it hurt him.
Yeah.
That's all. That's no doubt about it. And especially now that he lost here, he's going to be right outside that top 10. It was a good fight, though. I thought he showed enough to where, like, it's not like he got dominated here.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was a very clear win for Dariush. That split decision, pretty egregious, if I say so myself.
Yeah.
I'm not mad because at the end of the day, Dariush won. But if one other judge was dumb enough to give that fight to Ferreira, then we'd be looking at a robbery. And I just, when we're such big fans of Beneil, that would have pissed us off. So I didn't like it that it was even close to that. However, Dariush is going to be around number 10 now. However, that road ahead, that's where you get into the killer's row, man.
Well, okay, before we get into the matchmaking, did you hear his post-fight presser?
I did not.
So he kind of went off in a
Beneil.
nice way. In a nice way.
Mm.
So he was essentially saying how I'm sick of being, like, overlooked, where he's not getting offered as high-ranked guys as he thinks. And he even argued, he said Diego should have been fighting a top 5 guy, not me. And he said I should be fighting top 10 as well. And he was kind of saying, like, I'm looked at from the rest of the lightweights as too big of a risk to fight, but no reward if you beat me. And he's sick of being looked at
That's
that
a good
way.
way to put it.
So he was kind of going off last night in a nice way. He even apologized to Sean Shelby after the fact, kind of like clearing the air.
He's a very
But he was just essentially trying to say, like, I deserve top 5, top 10. And he's definitely going to get it now.
So
I got a fun one.
Here's my thing. Okay. 2021, I'm all about just getting one fight. I'm limiting myself to one guy in these matchmakings. I don't want to give myself too much room.
But we're going to steer away from this.
No, I will not. I'm not. You do whatever you want. But here's the fight.
You're going to give one fight.
Yeah, because I don't want to. I want to just say who I think should be next.
Your number one option.
I don't want to give 2 or 3 options because then if it happens, I'm going to be like, oh, well, I picked it. Yeah, I picked half the damn division.
I want to do this with you, but
you don't have to. No, don't do it then. You do you. Okay. Beneil Dariush, I'm giving you Dan Hooker next at number 8. So, Dan Hooker has dropped quite a bit here. He's down to number 8. Below him, you got Paul Felder and then Diego. So, Beneil's probably going to be placed at number 10, I would say.
I would imagine.
That leaves in front of him guys like Paul Felder, who I think Paul Felder's probably not going to... I don't see that fight happening.
It'd be fun.
It would be fun. And then... you got Dan Hooker number 8. And I think the road ahead of him might be just a bit too high for him yet. But if he's able to beat a guy like Dan Hooker, I mean, that would just really open up the floodgates for that top 5.
That's a fight of the night.
Dan Hooker he beat Paul Felder. He just lost to Michael Chandler. Before that, he was in a fight of the year with Dustin Poirier. If you're able to beat Dan Hooker, dare I say, even finish Dan Hooker, then... people are going to be like, oh, well, is he better than Michael Chandler?
Right.
Let's see it.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? So that's the fight I'm going to give him. Maybe not quite as high as he would like, but after that, you got a few guys that I just think might be. I won't say the names because I'm going to let you talk. But on the other end, Diego Ferreira. What?
I was waiting to see what you were going to say.
So Diego's probably going to drop to about 11. But right now, he's ranked 10th. I'm not going to have him go too much lower than where he already is. I'm actually going to have him welcome back Kevin Lee.
Yeah.
Because you get that class. Yeah. It's a grappler versus a guy who's really good at submissions.
That's a fun fight.
And Kevin Lee has definitely been caught in some submissions over his career. So, Charles Oliveira.
Yes.
Tony Ferguson.
Yes, to name a
couple. So, I think that could be a really fun fight. And
yeah.
you welcome back Kevin Lee, who's had that, I think he tore his ACL.
Yeah. Has a brand new tattoo on his head.
Yeah, and I was considering Ally Quina, but...
I don't know what he's doing.
I don't know what Al's doing, so I'm just going to go... those are my 2 that I'm booking.
Okay, so the Diego and Kevin Lee, boom, yeah. 100%. That's what I agree with. Okay, so you said Dariush and Hooker. Love that fight, so I'm just going to give one extra option as my pick then. What about RDA?
I'm all for it.
Would RDA take it, though?
That's my thing.
Yeah.
So I think after what I was trying not to be a little mum about it because I wanted to let you give your prediction, but after Dan Hooker, you got 7th through. After RDA, you got Conor McGregor, who's definitely not
He's not fighting Dariush.
But RDA, I could see it, but I think RDA's looking too far ahead. You got Tony Ferguson at number 5.
Yeah.
RDA's probably wanting to fight with him, or even Charles Oliveira at 3. You know, there's there's guys ahead that I think RDA is looking towards right now. I don't think he takes a fight with Dariush right now.
So safe to say, regardless here, if Dariush is going to go to number 10, 7, 8, 9 is probably what he's going to get next.
Yeah,
One of the three.
I would like to think so, but it wouldn't surprise me if they still gave him a guy like. If Islam Makhachev wins his next fight, it wouldn't surprise me if they put him against Islam. Or,
he's got Drew Dober still.
Yeah,
right?
if he beats Drew Dober, they might even put him against Ali Quina or Kevin. Like, it wouldn't surprise me just because I don't think they have a ton of stock in. They're not in the Beneil Dariush fan club like we are.
Right, we are.
But I think Beneil's 31. He's had a very underrated career in the UFC. He's looked really good, and I think there's a really good chance this guy could make a really big run here as he's hitting his athletic prime. Yeah. I really believe in him. It's not all jokes, Sometimes we might act like we're kind of joking when we talk about being fans of these guys, but I'm dead
serious.
I'm serious. I really like Dariush, and I like the skills that he brings. And he puts on exciting fights.
Yeah.
They just had a fight of the night. At least that's what it was awarded. I'm not going to give it my fight of the night, but then if it wasn't for the fact that it was right before Weili versus Joanna at UFC 247, it was
comeback of the year.
Him and Drakkar Klose was an amazing fight. It was a very underrated pick for fight of the year.
Yeah.
But guess what? It wasn't even a fight of the night.
Yeah.
Because it was right before fucking the best women's fight of all time.
And by the way, between last night and that fight you just mentioned, you know what he had sandwiched in the middle? Spinning back fist KO.
Scott Holtzman. That was the first card we ever talked about.
Yeah, so.
Just saying.
Beneil Dariush.
We love you.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Get on the podcast.
Let's move on.
Okay. Flyweights.
Alexandre Pantoja.
This is another thing we're passionate about, flyweights, damn it.
And Manel Kape, so...
Former Rising champion.
I'll start here.
Yeah.
If I just look at the fight as a whole, didn't really go the way I thought. We both predicted this to be fight of the night. Yeah. Not going to say it was a bad fight.
It was
you enjoyed it a lot more than I did.
Yeah.
I was a bit disappointed in this one.
With Kape.
I was disappointed with Kape.
Yeah.
Pantoja, I thought looked great.
He looked good.
He pretty much won this fight on output.
Yeah.
That was the difference here. Pantoja was throwing, letting them fly.
He was landing, but he just didn't throw enough.
Kape looked like he was really trying to set up like a...
he wanted that one shot.
He wanted the one shot, and he was looking to look for a counter. Like the one counter, the perfect counter. Mm-hmm. And it just wasn't coming. And he was getting ate up with some leg kicks, too. Some of those, his foot was leg planted straight. Whew, making his knee buckle. Yeah. I was like, man, just after leg kicks have been so prominent after the Poirier-McGregor fight that you just notice them more now. But, yeah, I'm very excited for Pantoja here. Just the fact that Kape was a big prospect for the UFC. I mean, it might not have been on the level of Michael Chandler, but in a lot of ways, I think it was the same level.
Oh yeah.
It's just flyweight; it's less talked about, but.
I will say this, Kape didn't look bad. Again, it was like the output thing. Mm-hmm. He's not going anywhere. He'll be back. He's going to fight another top 15. We'll talk about it. But Pantoja looked so crisp and technical. This was a very technical fight, obviously. It was feeling out in round 1. Pantoja was way more active, landed better shots. Round 2, if you want to talk about a round that could be anybody's round, that was...
So I personally scored it to Kape. Yeah. However, the stats showed that Pantoja outlanded him.
Yeah.
And it seemed like the majority of those live tweets they were showing had people at home scoring it for Pantoja. I had it 2-1 at the end of the day for Pantoja.
Yeah, round 3 got a little rowdy. Kape landed a takedown or so, but couldn't hold him down.
This was only disappointing because Kape is shown to be such an exciting fighter, such a great athlete, and just a very great technique.
Still very young.
He showed a lot of technique. I just didn't see much of the excitement. He looked like maybe he's a little gun shy. Maybe it's the big lights, maybe just a bit too bright on this night. But
well, I'm gonna start with this question before we get into Pantoja. What do you want for Kape next?
So, I think that you can still keep Kape in this area.
For sure.
Pantoja was ranked 5th coming in here.
For sure.
I think you can still have him fight in and around the top 10. I'm actually going to give him number 7, Kai Kara France. I think both of them coming off losses. Kai Kara France is still a very tough fighter in that division, but it's in that same skill level. And Kai Kara France showed in his fight with Brandon Royval that he will take the fight to you.
Oh, bang.
And I want to see Cape show more output. And I think that that's a guy that can maybe bring that out of him. You know, Pantoja had a very smart performance. And I think that Kara France will kind of, not that he won't be as smart about it, but he will definitely let it fly, as I keep saying. So do you want to go ahead and give your thoughts for Cape?
Matt Schnell.
Technical
boxer. Coming off that win against Tyson Nam.
I almost said Max again.
Damn it, Noah. He's tied for 8th. I don't know how the fuck you can have people tied for rankings, but they have him tied. I'm just going to say he's number 9. I think that would be a really fun stand-up war, and I think it's an opportunity for Cape to right his wrongs, come out and be more aggressive, and take the fight to Schnell, because in the fight with Tyson Nam, Schnell's getting hit. Tyson Nam's got some bombs. But overall, he's a very crisp technical boxer. So at the end of the day, it could be a very similar fight to this one, but if Cape realizes that he just needs to up it just a little bit more, I think that's a fun fight, and it'd be a big win for him.
I like it.
And for Schnell. That'd be really the biggest name on his resume.
I mean, Schnell did get that big win over Tyson Nam, so
Yeah.
I could totally see that.
So I like that one.
On the flip end, Pantoja. Pantoja's in a weird spot.
I only got one.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a weird spot. He's already lost to the champ, Davison, before he got the belt.
And he beat Moreno. Crazy.
Yeah, I know, he beat Moreno. So I guess in that way, like, he's not in a weird spot, but kind of is. Depends on what happens in their rematch with Moreno and Davison. He also lost to Askar Askarov. I give him Alex Perez. Alex Perez being the guy who fought Davison for the belt before Moreno. Alex Perez is a younger guy coming off of the Contender Series. Pantoja a bit older, not too much older, but a guy with a lot more experience. I think that could be kind of that youth versus veteran fight.
They haven't fought either.
No, and I think it'd just be a lot of fun, and it makes sense because Alex Perez is ranked 4th, Pantoja 5th. If Pantoja wants a chance to kind of amend some of those losses on his record, I think you got to get through Perez, who has fought for the belt already.
Mm-hmm. Raw dog.
Yeah.
Perez or Raw dog?
Yeah,
though.
I mean, no, it's
so
a
we're
great
really
fight.
hitting hard.
It's a
right
great
here
fight. Yeah.
Raw dog, had that fight. With Moreno. Very exciting fight. He did lose that first round, but he inevitably lost the fight because he popped his damn shoulder out of place.
Yeah.
Poor guy. But you talk about a guy being fast-tracked and really was living up to the hype. It was Brandon. And Roy Val, of course. And I don't think you can take anything away from him for losing to Moreno, especially after what Moreno just did with Figgy, about to have a rematch. Roy Val deserves to fight another contender guy. So really, those 3 guys need to work out fights between each other in some way or the other. Because Pantoja's sandwiched right in the middle of both of them. So
True.
That's all I got, yeah.
Legend fight.
Yep.
This is my fight of the night. Clay Guida, Michael Johnson. It was just a good old It is what I wanted it to be. These are 2 guys who aren't going to be fighting for belts. They're basically fighting for the love of the damn game.
Yeah.
And you know what? They put it all out there, man. They stood and banged, but ultimately the edge here for Guida being that he just had a more complete.
So aggressive, man. His wrestling.
His cardio king right there.
Yeah.
And also the fact that he just had more weapons. Michael Johnson could never truly get too comfortable because Guida would take him down.
Yeah.
And
on the feet.
And on the feet. I think Guida hurt Johnson more than Johnson hurt Guida. On the feet, though, this fight was awesome.
It was.
2 guys just literally biting down on the mouthpiece and just throwing haymakers.
Slobber knocker.
And that's what I have a lot of enjoyment seeing those 2 do that. It was a really fun fight. Not a ton to take away here just because that might be the end for at least Michael Johnson. That might have been the last time we see him in the UFC.
Hey, between these 2 guys, 54 UFC fights.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. All respect to both of them, though. I'm sad for Michael Johnson. He's on. I always talk about the stat, right?
Yeah.
He's beat Dustin Poirier and Tony Ferguson, and he's just never was quite able to
break through.
I mean, he fought Habib.
That was a freaking title eliminator.
Welcomed Justin Gaethje. Yeah. I mean, this guy
he's been there and done that.
It's just unfortunate that he's just kind of slowed down right when he hit his peak as far as in rankings and whatnot. It was like the end of his peak as a fighter. So yeah, it was a really fun fight. I mean, Guida totally was able to get those takedowns whenever he wanted, basically. Johnson had some decent takedown defense, but ultimately when they were standing and banging, Guida was just able to...
That surprised me.
Yeah.
I thought Johnson would have the advantage.
That's what I thought too. That's why I picked Johnson to win. I knew Guida would have an advantage if the fight got to the ground. I I didn't think he'd quite be able to do it.
He's so aggressive, man.
I mean, the guy's cardio is just on another
Unmatched,
level. And I will say Johnson didn't look awfully tired, and considering he was fighting off a lot of takedowns. Great fight.
It's hard to matchmake for these two guys. I will say one thing. In Guida's post-fight presser, he said, "Hey, man, I'm sick of fighting guys like me. I want to fight a fresh face, a new up-and-comer."
Ooh.
So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, what? I respect it.
Do it.
Because a lot of times when UFC does that, people get pissed. Because they're like, oh, look at you just feeding these.
But if we have his blessing,
hey.
Let's do it.
And you know what? That's a tough guy to welcome anybody.
Guida Chandler.
He is such a... he's such a just tough guy to fight.
If you can beat Guida and just get through that, I mean, he's going to take you to deep waters.
Yeah,
you know
he really does.
So...
You know, it doesn't get quite the respect he deserves at times.
He's been there and done that with all of them, man. He's been there since the BJ Penn, Sean Sherk days, too. Diego Sanchez, their fight was insane.
It's in the UFC Hall of Fame.
Yeah, man. So, why not? Give him some up-and-comer. I don't know, some of the unranked guys. There's so many in the lightweight division. Give him one of them. It'd be fun.
Awesome. Now, the co-main event. Corey Sandhagen made a statement.
Corey Sandhagen is unbelievable.
He knocked out Frankie Edgar with a flying knee 28 seconds into the first round. Obviously, there's not a ton to talk about from an action perspective. However, I will just note that Frankie, this flying knee was set up so beautifully.
It was
due to the fact that it was in a striking exchange.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
A lot of times when you see flying knees, the first one you think of Jorge Masvidal, Ben Askren, a guy's going for that takedown, and you throw the knee.
Yoel and Chris Weidman, same thing.
Chris Weidman, even well, no, not necessarily. The only other one I can think of is Edson Barboza.
Yeah.
Forget who that was. That Dariush did that too?
He did knock out Dariush. It might have been.
I think it was the flying, and that's the only one I could think of that was kind of similar, but this one was set up so beautifully, literally just in the middle of a striking exchange. Frankie was very aggressive, and Corey just was waiting for that moment to throw that knee.
You have to be an elite level fighter to do what he did.
Yeah, and
to time that and see that opening happen, it was unbelievable. It left me speechless.
So I'm just gonna say that Corey Sandhagen should be fighting the winner. You know what? Nope, I'm not gonna say that.
We're gonna say the same thing then.
TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah, winner fights the winner of Sterling Yan. Yeah.
At first, I was going to say the winner of Jan Aljo, but I'm like, fuck it, man. Let the guy fight again.
Do it in April.
Why not? He just won in 28 seconds. And I know
do it in March.
I know he should be fighting for a belt, but that TJ fight's huge. And he knows. He's got to know in the back of his head the UFC is probably going to want to put TJ in that title.
If he beats TJ, if he finishes TJ. Listen here. I want to give a little shout out to Ariel Helwani here. He kind of tweeted this last night, but think about this. 2 back-to-back finishes in the fashion that Corey Sandhagen did. So if you don't know, Corey's last fight against Marlon Moraes, headliner on Fight Island, spinning wheel kick KO. Spinning wheel kick. Last night, Saturday night I should say, against Frankie, flying knee. Back-to-back. You don't see like you'll see people get knockouts back-to-back, one-punch KOs, whatever. To do it in the fashion that Corey has, 2 straight fights against 2 elite-level fighters. An elite-level former title challenger and an elite Frankie Edgar that's been there and done that with the who's who of the UFC. That's unprecedented stuff.
Yeah.
Him and TJ, #1 contender fight in March or April. If it happens in March, I'm not going to be able to comprehend the month of March. It's going to be really bad because I already can't. I don't want to get into it. TJ Corey, #1 contender fight. That's it. That's the fight.
On the flip end.
I don't know.
So Frankie Edgar...
I don't want to be mean and say retirement. But at the same time, he doesn't have anything left to prove.
He doesn't. But I'm not gonna not give him a fight here.
Well, I want to add to this before we say. It's not like he got outclassed and just destroyed. That knee that Corey landed knocks out anybody.
It really does.
So you can't really take away from Frankie.
It's just the fact that we've seen Frankie, a guy who had
it's happening more and more.
Such a great chin, and then you got Ortega, Korean Zombie, goes down in weight.
And they're bad. They're brutal.
They are brutal.
So, go ahead.
The fight I'm going to give him, and maybe this, depending on how you look at this might feel like I'm really just trying to hurt Frankie, but I'm not. I'm going #7, Marlon Moraes. Marlon Moraes has...
I don't hate that.
You've seen Rice he's been getting finished quite a bit recently. Rob Font, before that, Mr. Corey Sandhagen. Before that, had that controversial win over Jose Aldo. Rice has just not had a great run of things since his title fight loss to Henry Cejudo. Before that, he looked like an absolute killer, but it's starting to look like he might not have that ability.
Yeah, he's in a weird stretch right now. Yeah.
Frankie Edgar's not necessarily a guy that has the power to knock out Rice with one shot, at least you wouldn't think. However, I think that he can bring this into where it's a dogfight for the two. Rice definitely has the power to knock out Frankie at this point, but even in the Rob Font fight, he just didn't look. It looked like he was kind of like how Ngannou got his soul taken, and then in a follow-up fight with Lewis, and he just didn't look the same, right? He just looked scared almost, like he didn't want to throw the big overhand right or whatever. Rice is kind of going through that.
Yeah.
So if you're going to give Frankie a fight, I think you go up against another guy kind of struggling to find his place. Marlon Rice, let them two basically fight to stay on the island, so to speak.
I still want to see Frankie and Dominic Cruz.
Nice.
So Dominic Cruz is fighting Casey Kenny in March.
Yep.
So I think win or lose, I think you should do Frankie and Cruz. I think that'd be really fun. Frankie and Aldo would be cool, but Aldo needs to fight Cody.
That's why I didn't say it.
Yeah. So I think Frankie and Dominic Cruz, man.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fun. Dominic has nothing left to prove. He can still get to a belt. I don't doubt that. He's just a lot less active now and does the commentary a lot. He was on the commentary team last night for the fights. But it's just like, I think fights like that are more fun for Frankie now. Aldo, Dominic Cruz.
Yeah,
the guys that are just veterans and done it all.
I'm for
because I think after last night, Frankie probably not going to earn that title shot anytime soon. That might be. Like, he can still fight, but now with how top-heavy this division is going to be and he's just going to move back, we got guys like Rob Font coming in now. Aldo and Garbrandt still hanging around. Munoz is fighting Rivera this weekend, so I like Frankie and Dominic Cruz. That'd be cool.
I agree.
But, yeah, that's all.
Moving on to the main event.
If he dies.
Drago.
He dies.
And
best performance of his UFC career.
By far.
He looked great.
Don't get me wrong. He looked good against Derek Lewis up until...
he got knocked out.
Until Derek Lewis was like, my balls are too hot. I'm going to take this guy out. Until Donald Trump called him. Said, take this Russian motherfucker out.
Yeah, according to Derek.
Yeah. What a performance.
Volkov looked nearly flawless.
He really did. And Alistair, we were very much rooting for him on this one last ride he had going on. So I guess let's talk about the fight first.
Okay.
First round, I thought, was definitely Volkov won the first round. Don't get me wrong. But it felt like Overeem was still in the fight. Like it seemed like he wasn't quite comfortable. Like it was a big. It felt like you know how you see fights where it's a feeling out process. It felt like Overeem was trying to feel out Volkov, and Volkov had already.
Volkov was so aggressive.
Volkov was like, the leg kicks early on already were taking effect, and then he started landing those shots. Overeem has a bad habit when he gets put up against the cage. He just kind of turtles
Shells
up.
Yeah.
And he did that a couple times. Volkov's aggression was really showing there. That's something we hadn't seen a lot from him in his career so far. Second round, though. The moment he broke Overeem's nose and it started gushing blood, that was the beginning of the end. 2 minutes later, lands a nasty shot that drops Overeem and then fight. Shout out Jason Herzog.
Yeah, he didn't have to go in and hit him anymore.
What a fight for Volkov, though, really. I mean,
he's 7-2 now, or wait, 9-2 or 7-2, one of the two, in the UFC. Regardless, a great record. It's just, he's such a unique fighter and character.
Yeah.
Like, he's 6'7", incredible striker with great clinch work. But it's like, okay, if you take him down, you might have an easy path to victory. However, Overeem tried and failed many times last night. Curtis Blades did it with ease over and over again. Blades is a problem for anybody with his wrestling, but you get what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. There are still weaknesses. But if you're on the feet with Volkov, he's got crispy striking for a heavyweight especially.
Yeah.
And a lot of people said he didn't have like that one-shot power. He'll like piece people up. One-shot power last night.
He really did. I was the one that said that. Mm-hmm. I said I didn't think he had the one-punch power for it, but when he was since he was being aggressive, it felt like he just had more shots. He was a
lot more aggressive last night than usual, and I think that's a big takeaway.
Yeah.
He needs to continue being more aggressive.
And maybe it might have just been
more aggressive isn't like a crazy pace. It's just he can control you.
And maybe that was because he just didn't feel like he had to worry about the takedown. Like, he was like, I don't think this guy can take me down. While in a Blades fight, he was always worried about that. But then you look at even the Derek Lewis fight, where he was winning for the majority of the thing. Still didn't see that level of aggression. Even the Walt Harris fight, he wasn't that aggressive. It was just the body work with the leg kicks was incredible.
Yeah, he does have good kicks.
Yeah.
Underrated
kicks. Now, if you want to talk about matchmaking, I think Overeem's done.
Is he?
He might take another fight, but should he?
No. I'm fine with him not. Because
I mean,
I feel like the one last ride thing comes one way. You either keep going to the title and win it or lose it, or you lose and it's like, okay.
I mean, who do you really place him against?
This loss hinders him getting close to a title by so much time.
Yeah.
Because there's way too much shit going on.
He's literally fought almost everybody in this top 15.
Yeah, he probably... Yeah.
All right, let me start with the winner here. Alexander Volkov, I think, needs to fight the winner of Rosenstruik and Gane.
We're on it.
Nice.
That's the one.
That's the one because really ahead of him you got Derek Lewis, who he's already fought.
And he's fighting Blades this month. Blades,
he's already fought.
True.
He's not fighting Ngannou. Ngannou's fighting for the belt, and he's not going to fight John Jones because John Jones is going to fight the winner of Ngannou.
Him and Jones would be kind of funky.
You know what? I think he could actually, maybe hot take, I think he could actually give Jones some fits. He's got the size for it. It could be much like a Gus fight, in my opinion.
But,
I'm going to go with the winner.
Rosenstruik and Gane for sure, yeah.
And then, if I have to pair up Overeem, this might sound disrespectful, but it's the one guy who maybe he hasn't fought. 15 Tibura.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to be fighting
Tibura just cracked back into the rankings.
Yep. So I would go with Tibura. Or you know what? I wouldn't even mind. Maybe they have fought before. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight
JDS.
I know they fought before.
I thought that's what you were going to say.
I was actually going to say my boy, Andrei Arlovsky.
Loser leaves the brand?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But I'll stick with Tibura, being that he's 15th.
Yeah. He might be done. He might not. He said he's going to take a lot of time off. Just be with the family. Yeah. Regardless, Overeem, dude, you're one of the greatest heavyweight MMA fighters ever.
One of the best fighters that never won a UFC belt.
Yeah, a Grand Prix champion, Strikeforce champion, every accolade you can imagine outside of a UFC belt, he's done it. And he's at least fought for the belt. And he damn near won it.
Yeah, he really did.
So, he got as close as you can get. And I feel honored that we got to see him fight in person.
Yeah, that's true.
So, shout out to Alistair Overeem.
Up, chin up.
Yeah. You've done everything. You're a Hall of Famer.
What a career.
Yeah. And Volkov, buddy.
He showed me a lot.
Damn.
I was definitely talking a little negative about him Friday.
He had his best performance in front of a lot of eyes.
I definitely feel a little bit more confident in his,
Saturday night's Volkov is a dangerous fight for anyone.
His longevity in his divisions definitely I feel a bit more comfortable in it.
Only 32 years old.
And I think that a fight with Rosenstruik or Gane could be...
Him and
Gane is...
Oh, man.
Woo!
Yeah.
Woo! But until then, we're going to close the book.
Another one.
On hashtag UFC Vegas 18. As for the rest of the week, Wednesday, this one's a little extra special.
Oh, yeah.
It's classic pay-per-view review time.
We're kind of thinking one a month for this.
1 a month, yeah.
Why not? There's so many to go through.
I know. So we're going to take it back to a little event.
A random one.
Back in June of 2016.
This is fun.
Called UFC 199, headlined by Luke Rockhold defending his middleweight championship against Michael Bisping.
It pulls at the heartstrings a little, Noah, this one.
It does. This one's really actually special because it was the very first pay-per-view I watched live.
Think about that. Just 5 years ago. Look how far you've come.
And you want to know why?
You have your own podcast.
You know why I watched it live? Because a good friend of mine that I had just graduated high school with, we were about to go to college. About to go to college together. Dominic Salee goes, "Hey man, you want to come watch these fights?
We're gonna order some pizza and watch the fights."
And I was like, you know what? Why not? And then I immediately fell in love with it. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited to watch this card back and just relive kind of some of those memories, some stuff maybe I've forgotten.
This is, a monumental pay-per-view, though. Really. Yeah. Bisping shocked the world.
Yeah.
Did the unthinkable. We'll talk about it more. I'm not going to get too much into it. But it's a big pay-per-view. And it's like, we don't just want to do UFC 1, UFC 100, UFC 200. We want to do a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Random ones and big ones.
Yep.
So here's the random one, but it's special to us, and that's what matters.
Yep. So I'll be coming on Wednesday. Friday, it's another preview episode.
And we're not taking slander.
Nope. We're not going to take it, no.
Nope.
UFC 258, headlined by Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. That's a great fight.
Oh, man.
And you know what? I've heard a lot of chit-chatter.
You know who you are.
Our own damn friends are shitting on this card.
We're not letting it happen.
We're not going to take it because we are here for this card.
Yes. Hey, rank contenders from top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Future prospects, future title challengers. They're all there. Everything's
They're
here.
all there.
All laid out on the table.
Yep.
Plus a title fight.
Yep.
Between one of the most dominant champions there is in the UFC and his toughest challenge, dare I say.
Ooh. That's an interesting take. I like it. I like it. But we're going to be breaking down the whole main card for that on Friday. And yeah, so that's the rest of the week. But until then, Dominic Slee, tell the people where they can find you on social media.
Twitter, Instagram, @DSlee14. Oh, also, fun little article coming out this week. Be sure to tune in. I will be previewing Macy Barber versus Alexa Grasso on the UFC 258 card.
It's our co-main event.
Yes, that is the co-main. That's going to be my preview article for Overtime Heroics. Shout out to the team. Give us a follow on Twitter, Instagram, all the fun stuff. Check out my article. I think I do a pretty good job. Anyway, follow the podcast on Twitter, on Instagram, @BAJ_MMA podcast. Noah, here you go.
Support Overtime Heroics. Support Dominic.
And my endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
MMA endeavors.
If you go to my Twitter or Instagram, my bio on Twitter or Instagram, @NTBaker_, you'll be taken to our link tree, which gives you the links to all the platforms that the podcast is on, along with the social media platforms. That includes the Twitter, the Instagram, the YouTube channel, and Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. It's all on there, baby. And there's a couple links for the anchor page. First, recording a voice message. Give us your thoughts on what we talked about in the lightweight division today. And
yes, please.
If you want to talk about this upcoming pay-per-view, give us a prediction for your main event or any other fights on the card.
If you slander, be prepared to get shit on in the podcast.
Get shit on. Go ahead and do it. Do it.
Shit on.
Do it, and we will shit on you on the podcast. If you want to do that, go ahead, by all means.
We'll still feature you.
Or if you want to tell us we're a piece of shit or whatever.
That we won't slander.
60 seconds, you got it. It'll be on the podcast. Go check that out. There's a link on the link tree. And there's another link if you want to become a supporter of the podcast. That just provides with a few dollars a month, and all that money goes back into improving the podcast, whether it be the audio equipment or down the line doing a video podcast. So again, you can find all of that if you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram @NTBaker_. But with that, we're out. We'll see y'all on
Hump Day.